I see my battery is low. This is the not the best, obviously not best timing, but yeah. Give me a big minute.
Jose, this is a session for the people who are coming to Facebook, if they are coming, especially for the retreat I will celebrate in Norway between the 15th of May and the 19th of May next month. And it's an open question and answer session where you can ask whatever you want. And I can present myself first. I am Kehari Singh. I'm from France, from Paris, born in Paris in 1952. So I'm almost next week becoming, we say in Mexico, I'm coming to the 7th floor, means I will be 70 years old. So in my childhood, my parents were, my father was a teacher working for the French government. So we traveled a lot because he was teaching out of France in the different school institutes, French institute and universities out of France. So I had a childhood traveling a lot, you know, living in Australia, living in Greece, living in Austria, living in England. And then as alone, as a young guy, I began to travel and live in Italy and Spain, travel a lot. I've been traveling a lot till I went to Mexico when I was 22, 1974. I traveled to Mexico. In my youth, I was absolutely not in yoga. Yoga was kind of a crazy thing for crazy people. I was more an extreme leftist militant after 1968. And, and like many people of my generation, which is the 60s generation, although I was young, no? In 1968, I was 16 years old. And we were like kind of politically very much more than in now. We were very directed politically, or hippies, very much on drugs, alcohol, and all that kind of thing. So I know that, and it doesn't, I don't get afraid of people coming to me and say, oh, I'm taking LSD every day. So say, oops, I know that. I know I've done that. So I'm happy that my brain didn't go away completely with all these years of alcohol, drugs, extreme life. Now people are practicing a lot of extreme sports. The extreme sports in my youth was politics, drugs, and alcohol. That was the extreme what we were living. And so I came to Mexico in 1974, which is like 48 years now, almost in 2 months. And I settled down in Mexico, although the idea was to travel to South America, to stay in Mexico like 1 or 2 years, and then travel southern. But I stayed in Mexico, I married, and I had 3 girls. But what happened, first, I had a first girl who couldn't be born. She died at the birth. And that made me a big crisis in my life. That changed completely my life. So my first daughter because I produce only daughters. You know that men are the one who produce the sex of the children, and so I produce only daughters. And she died when she was born, and it was really a big crisis for me, even more for me than for my now ex-wife. But it was very strong. So I got completely depressed, and my use of alcohol and drugs were not helping very much. But God is great. God is great. And one day, by accident, because it was just by accident, because I was producing muesli, granola. I don't know if, how do you say that in Norway? No. Granola is, you understand that word? Muesli, no? Kind of mix of oatmeal and I said I will sell it to a place. One friend of mine took me there, and the teacher, the guy who was teaching the class, because I said, oh, I will sell a lot with all these yoga freaks. And, and the teacher, who became quite a great teacher too, of Kundalini and healing techniques, Satnam Rasayam and things like that, Gurudev, and say to me, come in. And I say, no, I just came to sell my granola, no yoga for me. And I was still smoking tobacco and all these things. So he didn't let me. He said, sit down. Okay. So I didn't want to have a clash with him in front of his students, because if I would have, if I had a clash, probably the students would not buy the granola. So I had to behave nicely, sit down nicely. And I had my first class of yoga, and that was pretty hard, very, very hard. And I was, wow, what's that? And what convinced me, you will laugh, is the teacher at the end of the class got out his Winston extra large cigarettes and smoked a cigarette. They say, oh, this guy is not a purist. He's not, he is an open-minded guy. He was a shaman. By the way, he left smoking like 2 or 3 months after that. But I began to go to the class, selling my granola, taking the class, and I really found it so powerful, I couldn't believe it. And one day, still like 2 or 3 weeks after that, 1 month probably, I went to a party, and this yoga teacher was just sitting down there, white, and just looking at everybody. And the party was like many people like me, more like me than like. But I saw him and said, what are you doing here? He said to me, what are you doing here yourself? And I said, I was a little bit like with alcohol and some pot. And I said to him, how do I do to learn what you know? Because it was really powerful, because he made me, I don't know if you know, shamanism in Mexico is very common, and there are a lot of healers, traditional healers and shamans. And he, before that session, before I met him in that party, he made me a thing that is called a cleaning, una limpia, cleaning with an egg. They put an egg on your column, and they put, and then a raw egg, and then they take the egg and they put it in a glass of water, and the egg is cooked, because of your bad vibes and so he cleans you. And it has an immediate result on me because I was looking for a job during, after the death of my daughter. Like I spent like 9 months looking for a better job. And after this cleansing, 2 days after, I found a job. They offered me a job. So I say, wow, that's incredible. That works. That's true. That's not bullshit. So then in the party, I say, hey, Gurudev, how will I learn all what you learn? I was very ambitious, you know, which helped me a lot to be ambitious. And he said, oh, you may learn with me, but, and he never did that. He never does that, never did, never does. Now he died last February, this guy. He said to me, but you have to become a vegetarian. And I loved meat at that time. I was eating raw, red meat. You know, you have to leave alcohol. You have to stop drugs. Say, my God, that's a lot. In one shot like this. And he didn't tell me to stop smoking because he was still smoking tobacco. But the rest, and I say, okay, but in how much time will I learn all what you know? And he lied to me, thank God. He said, in 1 week. So I say, in 1 week. So I say, okay, I don't eat meat, don't take drugs, don't drink alcohol. 1 week, when I know everything, I come back to my habits. So I left drugs, I left, never take any drug anymore, became a vegetarian one day to another, never ate meat after that day. I took alcohol still little by little in the next year, but after 1 year, I left it completely because I was an alcoholic, you know, I was really dependent on alcohol, more than drugs even. And he knew that Kundalini Yoga, this technique, is so powerful that in 1 week, I would change. He told me. And I said, what do I have to do? He said, you have to come with me and we will practice yoga 6 hours every day. And you will see. I said, okay, I'll do it. I come. So he knew that during that week in which I practiced every day, I was with him 6 hours. We didn't practice the 6 hours, but it was one session, then we were walking to the park, then another session. So it was really an intensive way. And that changed my life. But I'm very intense, you know. So that's for intense people. Not everybody is the same. There are some people who are kind of calm and there is another way to do things. But with me, it was the right things to do at the right moment. I was so depressed because of the death of my daughter. And that changed completely my life. And then 1 year after, I knew my teacher, who was a teacher of my first teacher. And I went to live in an ashram. I learned more about the technique. They put me to teach immediately. At that time, you know, there was no like this certification and all these things, you know. One day, the wife of the director of the ashram came to me, put me a book in the hands, which was the only book of Kundalini Yoga at that time. That was 1979, and said, you will teach my class. And I told her when. In 5 minutes it began. The children, the students will come and I have to go. And I said, my God, I have only 2 weeks in this ashram and they put me to teach. What's that? And on this period, more or less, September 79, I knew my teacher, beginning of October. And for me, it was completely changed because when I knew him, I was like enlightened. I had a very strong experience. And then shit happens. Then I had to spend 10 years of hell to detox, to be out of everything, detox your body, detox your mind, detox a lot of things, and very hard times happening during 10, 12 years. So that's how I began, which doesn't mean that everybody has to begin to practice Kundalini Yoga that way. No. Now, Kundalini Yoga, what is Kundalini Yoga? Have you practiced, Ragnhilda, some Kundalini Yoga or not?
Only very little. I have done mostly Ashtanga and Yin Yoga and other types, but not very much Kundalini. I'm not very familiar with that.
So I can tell you the difference a little bit about how that works. Normally, all the yogas come from Hatha Yoga, and you have different ways, different manners, Ashtanga, Vinyasa, Hatha by Iyengar. So all these yogas are much more focused on postures and practice of postures and how you say that, sun, Salud also, the sun series, and it's very focused on that, and with the practice and the perfection of your practice of your postures, it's different. Ashtanga, for example, has Kriya, has a series. You follow different ones, 2 or 3, I think. I don't know really about Ashtanga. And Kundalini is different. Kundalini works on more than on posture. Posture is important. Posture, breathing, pranayamas, and a lot of chanting in Kundalini Yoga, because chanting mantras is very, very important because it has an impact on your psyche. So it works, of course, on your body and everything, but where it works most, Kundalini Yoga, is on your emotions, your international, your emotional intelligence, all what comes from the heart. It works very much on what you feel and your story of your traumas. It's much more therapeutic, and the big difference with other yoga doesn't make it a better thing or worse thing, but is the speed of your experience. For example, when you practice serious, when I'm talking only about serious practices of yoga, like Iyengar and Vinyasa and Ashtanga, it can take, or Buddhist meditation, Zen, Rinzai, Soto, or Tibetan. It takes a lot of years to have really a strong and deep experience. Kundalini Yoga is very quick. And that works more or less like this. You take 2 or 3 classes, and after 2 or 3 classes, that's for me, that's not for me. You have experiences, high experiences, very deep experiences with Kundalini Yoga very quickly. So you motivate very easily, because like me, I was an alcoholic, I come to the class, of course, it was hurting and all these things. And, but after 3 classes, I knew that that's for me. That's good for me that I had very deep experience. And I realized at that time, finally, that all my quests in my life was a mystic quest. That really, if I took drugs, if I took alcohol or whatever, it was always looking for a special alternate state of your mind. So I was looking for uplifting my state, no? my humors, and when I discovered, and that was my experience, it's not the experience of everybody, but when I discovered the Kundalini yoga and meditation, I got into such experience, very mystical experience, enlightened experiences, that I say I don't need to take drugs. I don't need. I can produce with my own body all the your glands produces certain endomorphins that you can produce with your own exercise and your own experience. So that was my experience. Some people take a little bit more time, but it's very quick how you feel. That's for me, that's not for me. Yeah. And the practice of Kundalini yoga too is more on resilience and resistance than good postures. Good posture helps you a lot, but good posture is not the essential part of it. You know, if you do it wrongly, you do it wrongly. But it is very important. For example, you have sometimes exercise, you do some postures, 3 minutes, and it seems like eternity, you know, 3 minutes becomes eternity, which is a good thing because it connects you to eternity. Just that's what happened in the practice. So it's really a family of yoga, a little bit quite different from all the other yogas of postures. That's what I could say. So now, the last part, I can tell you, but make questions. The retreat I will teach is called Rebirthing, Liberation, and Healing. No? And the rebirthing kriyas, which are the how do you say, the series, the successive exercise in a certain way, especially were constructed to work on your childhood, on your, when you were in the womb of your mother, and then when you were born, and when you, the first 11 years of your life. And during all this space, all this time, everybody will live a lot of traumas, sometimes big traumas, sometimes little traumas, but all these traumas you live in your life as a child, as in the womb of your mother, in the moment of the birth, you know, that the reason why it's very important to, if your mother is still alive, to always ask your mother, how was your pregnancy? How was the pregnancy of me? How was the birth? How did it happen? Was it difficult? Was it not difficult? So the more information you can get from your mother, it helps you a lot to identify and recognize some events that are there in your life and many times don't allow you to go further, to be liberated. So the work on rebirthing is on that, on the traumas you live from the pregnancy till more or less the 11 years. it makes you do things you would never do in other yogas. You make exercise, you say, that's crazy, this exercise, why do we do it? It's the purist of Hatha yoga says, Kundalini yoga is not a yoga. It's for people who really are not very good in yoga. And that's not true, because when you put them, these people who are very good in Hatha yoga, and you put them to put in Kundalini yoga, they say, okay, yeah, now I understand. It goes very deep in you. And because you have glands and memories, we in rebirthing, in this session of rebirthing, you work very much on your memories. And it's absolutely proved that a lot of memories, especially the abuses and the bad memories of your childhood, you don't remember, or you don't want to remember. They are left in the forgetting. Because why? Because when you have an abuse or you have a difficult time, the first thing that your psyche and your emotions and your personality wants is to anesthesiate this dolor, this when you suffer, you're suffering, When you suffer, the first reaction, natural reaction to suffering is, I want to anesthesiate. I want to make it not suffering. And one way to anesthesiate is to forget. But forgetting it doesn't mean that it's not still there. And when it's still there, it's not affecting only your emotions, it's affecting your body and your nervous system and your glands, and all your system is affected by these forgotten memories, many times forgotten. When you do this kind of exercise that we do in rebirthing and meditations, kriyas, memories are coming back. They are beginning, I say, the shit begins to float, because normally it's well under, well in the depth of the memory. But when you make this kind of exercise, it begins to float. So what happens? You begin to have sensations of things, and little by little, you begin to remember. So you will ask me probably, why to remember this shit? Better forget it and leave it. Because it affects your health. Because if you don't liberate yourself, if you don't free yourself from these memories, which are attached in some part of your body, working on your nervous system, it may give you, when you're 30, when you're 40, some illness. Many people who have cancer comes from that, because they are, sickness, illnesses come from your genetic map, your genome, you have a genetic map, and your genetic map, for example, will tell you, and now we know that, will tell you, you are very, possibly you will get cancer in your life. It's not for sure, but you're a candidate for cancer. That you can know very soon. Doesn't mean you will develop cancer. But if you give the climate for cancer, the emotional climate for cancer is resentment, anger, inner anger, kept anger, for example, with cancer. So if you're a person who has a lot of problems of anger, resentment, keeping inside your, that you're a big candidate for cancer if you have the tendency in your DNA to have cancer. If you don't have that tendency, you can be angry and something else will happen with your, probably with your liver, which is another thing. But so all the traumas, all the emotional thing you keep inside you and you don't free yourself from that can take you to illness in your life. So the work we are doing is really to get rid of that, say, and you feel good because the aim of practicing yoga in general, whatever yoga it is to be happy. And we are born to be happy and we are not born to suffer. We will suffer because we are human beings. It's part of our evolution. Huh? We will have suffering, of course. And the problem is not that you suffer or bad things happen in your life. The thing is how you face your destiny, how you face what happens in your life. So it is your duty as a human being to face whatever is inside you, to evolve, to have a better evolution, to be happier. Why to be happier too? Why? Because if you're not happy, all the people who love you will not be happy. So it's a very selfish position not to be happy and to suffer. Think about a little bit when somebody comes to you and complains, oh, I'm suffering, this. So the first time you listen to that person, we say, oh, poor guy, poor woman, she's suffering, I have to help. The second time you just hear a little bit. The third time you don't want to hear it. The fourth time you see it on the street and you go around the block because you don't want to talk to that person because it's, you don't like to be with person who are complaining, suffering, complaining about their suffering. So our job as conscious people is to help people not to suffer so much and to face their sufferings. How to face your suffering. Because suffering will always happen. The problem is not suffering. The problem is how you deal with your suffering, how you get with that. And if you keep it inside you, saying, oh, I'm a saint, I'm pure, I'm vegetarian, I'm very, but inside you, you're full of shit, no? Doesn't work. Doesn't work because one day or another it will go out. So rebirthing is a real incredible tool to work with all these traumas and all these abuses, past histories, sufferings of the past, lack of balance, emotional balance in your life. And it's possible to work with it. It's relatively easy. It's only to learn and to work with it. And who am I there? I'm just a facilitator of the technique. So people can come and that's what I can say in little words. What is my style? You could a little bit see my style. My style is quite direct. Quite, you go there, don't go around. And it's especially for the people who wants really to wake up and change their lives and really go quick into a consciousness path. Tanya,
Yes. Thank
you
you.
have,
I prepared some questions, but you have kind of answered every one of them.
so, and Ragnhilda, you have questions? Any questions? You know, you can, I don't promise I will answer all the questions because I don't know everything. But if I don't know, I say, I don't know, but I will look for the answer. I will not let you down.
You already talked about many of the things I was curious about. I've tried different types of yoga and meditation, and for me, some of it was just, I felt I was just sitting there. And now you mentioned you do kriyas and chanting, and I don't know what all these series will be like. Will it be a very intense week, do you think?
It's an intense, I am intense.
Yeah.
But you don't have, you have the, so intensity, yes, it's intense because intensity gives you the way to manifest. But you're not obliged to do anything. You're just, it's like golf, you know, I don't know if you know the play of golf. When you play golf, I don't play golf, but I know how it works. When you play golf, you don't play, you are not in competition with nobody. You play against yourself. You have to be better with yourself. You always play against yourself. And Kundalini Yoga is, and consciousness paths in general, it's you are playing against yourself. You become excellent. It's a process of excellency, how they say that in the business, you know, it's a constant process of excellency where you have to do the best and a little bit more, not too much more, because if you do too much more, you get tired and you say, nah, you reject it. So it's always do whatever you can, but a little bit more, because everybody, what happens with everybody, that we have an image of ourselves that we can do only a certain, till a certain level. And that's not true. You can always be better. You can always go further, but not too much. If you go too much, you get saturated and you don't want to do it. So it's in the, how you say that? In the, what everybody has to do in a class is to try its best and a little bit more. And who can say what is the best? Yourself. Yourself is the only one who can say, I gave the best. It's a problem of self-honesty, integrity with yourself. So the teacher is there only to push, but you do whatever. You don't have, there is not, you know, everybody is different. Everybody has a different path, different experiences, different. So everybody does a little bit what they can, and I push to make a little bit better. But I will give you an example. You have an exercise that lasts 10 minutes. No? But you never practice yoga in your life, and you never practice exercise. You're a sedentary, you're in front of your computer every day, and you don't do exercise, you don't know how to breathe, you don't have any idea of exercise. So probably you will be able to do 2 minutes and not 10 minutes. And you do the 2 minutes and you say, okay, that's okay, just take a rest. And when you feel better, you go back to it. It is important that you really put yourself, you commit with yourself. You have to commit. All consciousness paths are to commit with yourself. You have to commit. But you are the only one as a person to decide what you can do and what you cannot do. It's completely your choice. So when you say it's intense, yes, it's intense, but it's intense provoked by yourself. You know, you decide what you want to do. Sometimes I have students come to the class and they don't do anything. But they're just like, they are like birds, you know, don't do anything. That's their choice. You know? As a teacher, you're not there to tell them really what to do. It's like with the children. You don't tell them what to do. No, you just put limits and say, that's what has to be done. You choose, you know? So don't be afraid, Ragalihilla. Did I pronounce it more or less? You can recognize.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of intensity. Yes?
Can I share something, Jai?
Yeah, share.
I have been also, I can kind of relate to your question, Ragnhild, because I have also been a bit afraid of intensity because I've been sick for so many years.
I have been what?
My experience
for so many
with
years?
Kundalini Yoga is so different because it's a short sequences, and yeah, you do it until you can't do it anymore. And my experience is that my energy was so increasing by it, not the other way around, because I had all the rest in between. So if you kind of listen to your body when you are practicing, you will feel safe in that, and you will feel that your energy increases day by day when you are there. Yeah.
Very quickly. And as you say, you have to listen your body, and not only your body, your emotions, your mind, because your mind begin to think very creatively, because the mind is there to be creative, and they are creatively negative sometimes. When you're in a bad day, you say, you begin to say no to everything. But when you do, and you don't have to stop that negativity, you have to observe the negativity. You don't have to say, no, listen to it. And you will see how your mind works if you listen. And when you listen to your mind in a frequency of meditative frequency, after having done some exercise, meditating, so all this flow of your mind is passing through your mind, but the state you are producing in yourself, practicing the technique, gives you the opportunity to see yourself, but detached from yourself. That gives you the practice of yoga in general, not only Kundalini yoga. For example, especially the meditation, the Buddhist meditations, gives you this opportunity to observe yourself without intervening in what you think. You just let all what comes to you, even the worst negativities, comes to you, and you see it, but your state, your body has produced, your glands have produced and put you in a frequency that allows you to be an observer and not to be part of what's happening to you. You know, one day our teacher asked a lot of students, and they say, what is life? And everybody was like, you know, we are very nice people. So we say, oh, life is love. Life is, and the teacher was like a little bit bored with these answers. And the guy raised his hand and said, life is like to go to the movie. And the teacher said, yes, yes, yes. You sit down, you get your popcorn, you know, you know, popcorn, you know, these things, you popcorn, and you enjoy the movie. So life is like this. You have to gain, to earn the capacity of being an observer of your own life. That doesn't mean that you're cold-minded and you're not. It means you stay with your neutral mind. But the building up of your neutral mind has to be through practice of meditation. It's not one day you wake up, you take your coffee and say, oh, I'm neutral now. No, it doesn't work like this. You have to train. And that's what people don't want to do many times. They don't want to train. They prefer to take a pill and just sit down and see what happens. But if you don't train your body, if you don't train your glands, if you don't train your systems, you know, when the crisis is coming, you won't have the pill to resolve it. But if your body, your glands, your systems are trained, for example, in the rebirthing, we have some exercise in some of the Kriya is you make this, you make during 5-10 minutes. So that is to train your gland, the hypothalamus. I don't know in English if you say hypothalamus, but you understand. It's like your central computer, have the memory of everything. So when you do that, the hypothalamus say, it's freaking out. Say, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? So you're training your hypothalamus to be in front of something that will shake you. So when in the real life, something happens very strong, your glands are already trained. The other day, it was 6 months ago or more, like 9 months, a student came to me and wrote to me on the Facebook, student, he said, you saved my life. I say, I saved your life? You know, I'm not a magician. I don't remember having saved your life. He said, yes. I was on the street, and I had assault. They assaulted me with guns, because in Mexico it's very usual this, no? Assault me with guns. And if I wouldn't have been trained by you, I would be dead. But automatically, I moved very slowly, going till the shop, and the guys were afraid when I was almost entering the shop, and they went away. And I did that completely automatically. It was not something that I had to think about and what he said. That was my training of yoga, you know, that automatically my body, my glands, my systems are trained with different emotional situations. So that's what's happening. That's what you do when you do yoga, because some people think, oh, I do yoga, oh, I'm a saint, I'm very pure, I'm more than you, you know. That's bullshit. Yoga is to train you to live happily, strongly in the life, to face your destiny, to face your life, to face your day. Every day you have to face a new day. Because God is a little bit is a bad banker, you know. He lends you the day, one day. It doesn't lend you for 1 month or 1 year or whole life. Every day you have to do your practice, so God covers you, you know. If you don't do your practice, maybe you remember things from the day before, but God, you know, is a very, very, how do you say, he's a banker that only lends you money for one day. He lends you the guarantee of your life only for one day. So that's spiritual path is not like what many people think. Many people think that spiritual life is, no. This is spiritual life as we see it is a life of a warrior and saint. The vulnerability of a saint to have this empathy, to feel everything, and on the other side, the strength of a warrior, because you have to be there. Because if you're only on the level of your heart, like Mexicans, you become very emotional, you suffer, you victimize, oh, poor of me, they did that, blah, 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 blah. Or if you're only a warrior, you don't have empathy, you don't have, you just roll over other people. So it has to be a balance between your warrior tendency and your saint tendency, vulnerability and strength. It has to be balanced. You have to learn how to balance. And you're always on the edge, on the edge of vulnerability, feeling, empathy, and strength to go through it. So that's what I did. Don't be afraid, Ragnhilda. I see you. Oh, oh. How old are you, Ragnhilda?
And me, I'm 46.
46? Really? You look like 26.
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you. No, you look very young, very innocent.
Perhaps I'm not.
You look. I didn't say you are.
Yes.
So it's a pity that no more people are coming, and we'll see what happens with this retreat. You know, I told Tanya in Lithuania, I have 60 people already in the retreat. Maybe they are afraid of Putin and they want me to help them to defend themselves against Putin because we are very near. I'm sorry?
I'm afraid it's mostly because of the 17th of May, unfortunately. We are just very unlucky with the dates, I guess.
I didn't know.
No.
Eva never told me that the 17th was the National Day and that people on the National Day march on the big avenue of Oslo with the military for the National Day.
But we will see. We have still some weeks and hopefully.
Yeah. You know, I will tell you what I've done. I will make a pause.
So to me, it sounds very interesting. And also, I know I have children, so it's not the easiest time to go away.
What age are your children?
Oh, they're 6 and 9. And my son is in this marching band, and he's going to play his instrument on the 17th.
I told you. Maybe having you with the military.
He has this small, I don't know the English word, is the cornet, and he's 9 years old and he's practicing, and then he will go playing this instrument.
Okay, what can I say? So we'll see what happens, but I'm very excited to go to Norway and know Norwegian people. I have very few Norwegian friends. Even the Kundalini, there is a Kundalini community in Norway. The guy who began Kundalini yoga in Norway died because he had cancer. He had a prostate cancer. So I don't know what happened with the community there in Oslo and Norway. But
I went to a couple of classes in Northern Light Yoga in Oslo, but since I live in Trondheim, there is no Kundalini Yoga in Trondheim.
and in Oslo, can you print something, Tanya, and put it in the yoga center?
Yeah, and I also asked him, I sent him messages, the leader of the Northern Light yoga studio there, but he hasn't replied to me. So I'm doing my best to
But can't
reach
you
out.
go there with a flyer and put the flyer there?
Yeah, I can do that. I will.
Yeah, we can try, and if it doesn't work, what can I say? It's God's will.
Yeah.
No problem.
Anyway, I'm so happy to get to know you, Jai. I can tell you, Ragnhild, that I met Jai by such a nice synchronicity. I had this vision in a yoga class that I was going to Mexico, and it had all about Kundalini yoga to do. And then I got to know this musician, which I made some music with, Pablo. And I asked Pablo, do you happen to know any Kundalini yoga teacher or school? I want to take a teacher training in Mexico. And then he knew Jai here. And that's how we got to know each other. So we just, I invited Jai to come to Norway because I teach on Nosen quite often.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, let's see. I will
yes,
do my best.
I want to come. I have to get permission from my son.
Yes.
But I really want to come, and it sounds very good.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I understand I'm not known in Norway. They don't know me. They don't know. They don't have to know me. But I think it's a good way to begin, no? And I think even if there are 5-6 people, there have to be minimum 5-6 people to do it. Less, I don't think it doesn't pay my trip. So, because with 5-6 people, I can put something for because Nosen doesn't pay me the trip. So they pay me the retreat, but not the trip. So, but if we are less than 5-6 people, it's very difficult for me to make it happen. But you will come to the training. This week. I'm sorry?
I will talk with them. I will call and I write more emails, and we will figure something out. And if not this round, we will do it later.
And don't feel, if it happens, why Guru? If it doesn't happen, why Guru? We do another thing. You come to the training. We will have in English for Lithuanians mainly, but it will be in English, so you can do the training we will have next year in English. And other questions, Tanya?
No, I think you really covered a lot, and I feel so much more informed, and I also like to listen to you and get to know you better. So I'm just very grateful for everything you shared, and I also enjoyed your stories a lot, and feel very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Yeah.
You.
Thank you. If you don't come to Norway, I can come to Mexico.
Come with Tanya.
Yes.
So I hope you can. I will share that. I hope I can share that on your event. If I cannot share on the event, I will share it on your, Tanya, on your page, your profile that I have. And it's a pity that no more people came to this, because I'm open to questions people know me, feel acquainted, not feel acquainted, so they know. So don't be afraid about intensity, right, Melhilda? Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sama.
Bye.
We'll keep in touch. Thank you, Ragnhilda.
Thank you.